Welcome back to Get Down to Business. So it's a good thing that we're on the radio and our listeners can't see me because I'm pinching myself right now. I've been looking forward to this conversation. We have a special guest with us, Justin Roberts, the creator of the film Fighting Spirit, a combat chaplain's journey. Justin, welcome to the show. I'm super excited to have you here today.
I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Our listeners know that they've been a part of my journey. I've started as Army reservist, as a military police officer. Now I am an Army chaplain. And I am a combat chaplain. So this is very, very real for me. And honestly, so much of my inspiration comes from this man that we have as a guest on the program, Justin Roberts, and the stories that he's captured. So Justin, I want to get to know the person behind the microphone. I understand that you're a former Army chaplain. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your experience in the military?
Yeah. So I became an Army chaplain in 2009. I served with the 101st Screaming Eagles. I went with them to Afghanistan, and I actually made my first film during that combat deployment, which is called No Greater Love, which is, we screened it at the White House before Congress, did the festival route, and then took it out theatrical. And that was my first experience as a film director as well, was during that operation and that tour. And then my second unit was in 2nd Cav out of Germany. And so then I got out at 2015 to go and release No Greater Love, to do that theatrical.
It's incredible. And we're going to talk in a moment about Fighting Spirit, a combat chaplain's journey. But I want to just take one step back, Justin. What was it that brought you into the military? What was it that gave you, as we say, the calling to serve in the military, but also serve as a chaplain?
Yeah. So my grandfather served in 3 wars. He served in the end of Japan, end of World War II in Japan, and then he served in Korea, and then the beginning of Vietnam. And then my uncle, who was that next generation, served in Vietnam but died shortly after. And every generation we've had somebody in our family serving. So I kind of knew that I was on the line. I was in I was up, but I wanted to serve because my grandfather was such a inspiration to me and the bedrock of our family. And I wanted to follow in his footsteps, but I felt called to ministry when I was 15. And I knew that I was going to go into ministry, but I didn't know how. And when I found out that I could do both, serve in the military and be in ministry, that's when I started moving to become a chaplain.
That's pretty amazing. And one thing that I focus on this program all the time is about service. That it's not just putting a uniform on, which again, God bless those that do, but that's not what's asked of everybody. And my big takeaway from Fighting Spirit is that these combat chaplains, I mean, Justin, they started their journey looking just like you or I. And it's amazing. These people that have literally changed and save lives. And that's what chaplains do. So before I go on with too much of my own perspective, I'm curious, Justin, what inspired you to create this film that has now won so many awards and achieved some pretty big status, some pretty impressive names involved on the on the production line?
Yeah. The story that I got to tell with No Greater Love was focused on the soldiers themselves. And I didn't want to go into my story very much. I wanted to focus on just the men that I was serving with. But with the story about the chaplains that I got to walk with was never told. And you understand this, that, I mean, it's like we get to serve with some incredible individuals who are making a major impact in the military, but it's an impact most people don't know about because it's confessional, because it's quiet, because so much of what a chaplain does is not seen, and helping people, being beside them in the darkest moments of their lives. And so I wanted to talk about some of these incredible people I've served with, but namely the people that inspired me, to become a chaplain. Some of these historical individuals who were just like us, just regular people, but they did some truly extraordinary things. And so when the opportunity to, put this film together came along, I jumped at it.
Yeah. And when I was in chaplain school at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, I had an opportunity to see the film before it really made its massive debut on the scene of Veterans Day just a few weeks ago. But the big news over the past few weeks is that Chris Pratt came on board as a producer for Fighting Spirit: A Combat Chaplain's Journey. What was that experience like? That's pretty cool to get some of those big names.
Yeah, it's an honor that they would want to support it, and it's it speaks more to him and helping us out and supporting this project. And I know that the reason that he was supporting it is because he wanted to support chaplains. The in the chaplain corps, and I think you'll understand this experience too. It's just like you just kind of go forward, you do the ministry, you provide the care, you do the work, and you don't always know how many people are paying attention, how many people actually even know what you do. But one of the biggest things that I've witnessed from this film and this experience, both on the Hollywood side and across the country, is that people do care about the difference that is being made, by chaplains on behalf of the soldiers and service members. So that's been inspiring.
It's inspiring to me and to so many others. When we come back after a quick break, we're going to continue our conversation with Justin Roberts and talk a little bit about your own experience because it's been a journey post-military for you in telling some of these stories. And I know it hasn't always been fun and games. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment when we come back on the show, all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. You're listening to Get Down to Business, and we will be right back. Welcome back to Get Down to Business, continuing our conversation with Justin Roberts, Army chaplain, Army veteran, and producer of Fighting Spirit: A Combat Chaplain's Journey, which we've been chatting all about. Justin, thanks for sticking with us. Justin, this film is getting a lot of accolades, as mentioned. Now your second film. So you are, in addition to being a veteran and all the other titles that we just mentioned, you're an entrepreneur yourself and you're a filmmaker. That's pretty crazy. What advice would you give to other filmmakers that are out there that have a story to tell?
Don't do it. No, honestly, it's you do it if you have to, and you're going to do it no matter the advice. The people who ultimately are going to do it are going to find a way to do it. And if you can do something else, then do something else. But because the work is hard, and the risks are great, but the reward, if you stick through it and you do the work, you're making art. You have the ability to spread a message and get a story out to millions of people. And so it's worth it if you have to do it. But I don't encourage people to go and become filmmakers unless they absolutely have to.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate all the work that you have put in, and because I've watched the film now multiple times, we get a glimpse into your own family, and they're coming along. I mean, every service member has so many people that stand behind them. But just your family think you're nuts?
Always, but everybody who has known me knows that about me, so it's par for the course. The first film. I put it together while we were doing the combat operations, No Greater Love. And that was really my film school, was out there putting that together during those operations. So that's where I made a lot of my mistakes, where I kind of learned how to put, these different pieces together. My background, I have a second master's in media arts and communication with a focus in writing. My first master's was biblical studies, which is how I became a chaplain. But the second, I focused in writing, and I've always loved writing. And I've always loved photography. So put those two together, and then that's how I became a director. And so that first, deployment was really where I learned a lot of those lessons on how to put a film together. And then after I got out, I learned the business side of it, how to start up the business, to get the LLC, because every film is a business unto itself. It's an LLC. So you have to go through all that normal stuff of starting a business, raising up investors, all that the harder side of it. Raising money. I would much rather go get shot at than raise money.
You're a veteran on multiple levels, a combat veteran right there.
Yes.
Justin, on that note, your perfect segue. Just before we wrap up over here, any one bit of advice that you wish you knew then what you know now in terms of being an entrepreneur? What advice would you share with fellow entrepreneurs tuning in? And lastly, how can we find the film? How can we get in touch with you?
So I think that the biggest bit of advice is the majority of filmmakers out there aren't making films. The majority of filmmakers talk about making films. They're going to be a director. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. They're looking for motivation from other people. They're looking for that next course. They're looking for the next instructional video, the next bit of education, instead of just doing it. And the best bit of advice that I can give is that you do have to just take action. Stop waiting for the next thing to come along to try to motivate you and to create the perfect timing. If you are determined to do something, you will do it or you won't. But it's waiting for that perfect timing. It's never coming. And the best way to get a hold of me, it's my company is called Echo Bravo Productions. That is Echo Bravo Productions. And they can find us on the website. And the film itself is Fighting Spirit, which is fightingspiritfilm.com.
fightingspiritfilm.com. Justin Roberts, filmmaker, entrepreneur, combat veteran, Army chaplain, and so much more. Thanks so much for joining us. Can't wait to follow your story and all that you are doing. That's a wrap for us this week on Get Down to Business. To success, let's get down to business. We'll see you next week.